I got at home from a garage sale a long time ago. The Dennis has made several Celtic knots. He's got one under construction.
We already had that straight.
I know, but he wasn't holding it under far enough, so you can't see where it was going. It's straight enough.
There's my aim point there. There's my aim point.
Is that your aim point?
Yeah. This is one under construction. This is what they look like under construction. And that looks nothing like a Celtic knot, but it will be.
Should I focus it down there?
Yeah, I gotta do it up there.
He's gonna hold it up. It's gonna be
Dennis has been doing some more 8-sided. I don't know what this is. This is varying angles. You don't have to always do 30 degree or 45 degree, which is the most common. You don't have to do that. You can do some of one, some of another. Dennis has been going crazy with the magic wands. His handles on the magic wands, different variations. So those are always fun. He's making a couple of other handles that you can get all different colors of veneers. We're going to talk about veneers in a moment. Celtic knot Easter egg. And that's just one Celtic knot. Move down a little bit, make another Celtic knot. Move down a little bit, make another Celtic knot. So it's the same knot, just repeated. So there's a Celtic knot Easter egg. And just for the heck of it, this is not going to the Museum of Art or anything. It's a piece of poplar that I had. I had put a Celtic knot on it, turned a goblet real fast, and put it on there. Now, if you can see it, which I don't think you can, the Celtic knot, the beauty of this, it goes all the way through. It goes down to the center. The more you turn this, the smaller it gets, but it keeps on going. The Celtic knot goes right on through the wood piece. So made a little goblet with a Celtic knot. And that's about all I had. So to make the knots, this would be an 8-sided knot. This is started off with an octagon, and it's an 8-sided knot. The most common knot probably is the 90-degree Celtic knot. And this is the exact same thing under construction. Doesn't look like a Celtic knot, but it's the exact same wood, and it will turn down and become this. So you have to use your imagination for a tool handle, a magic wand like Dennis has been making, a candle holder. This cup can easily become a standing candle holder for a tea light or a battery-powered tea light. And you can make a pair of them just alike. They're easy to make the same, and put like the battery light in the top. Make a couple of little standing candles. And the important part of the veneer is to get the veneer to fit correctly into the notch. This was actually cut on a table saw. Your table saw is going to be a notch, depending on your table saw, from about 0.125 to 0.128, just around that area. If you have a thin curve table saw blade, which I have right now in my table saw, it's approximately 0.10. And then your bandsaw blade, they're advertised at 0.05 of an inch. but you'll find out that that's the blade itself, and then the teeth are bent out to make a kerf, and the kerf will be just a little bit bigger than 0.05. Let's see if I can get this where we're good there. Okay, back to here. You want this so that the wood fits in there firmly, but you should be able to push it in your hand without over rotating it and spreading apart the joint. It should fit in. This is a smaller one here. This is like you would be making for a pin blank. You don't want to put your wood in and have it fall right back. That's not a good fit. That's not a good fit. That's too thin. But if you get it right, and we're putting it in here, it should go in and stay in. Put it in with just 2 fingers. That's a good fit. I don't recommend, my opinion, super glue for working on these. One thing, you don't have any working time. And my opinion, again, super glue is brittle, and it's not what I would use for something that's being turned. But I just do these with Tight Bond 3, and be generous with the glue. Working back and forth a few times, and you want to push the glue so you get it all the way down into the bottom. I'm going to show you how to make the jig for the saw, and you'll see that this now is not cut all the way through. This has been stopped about 1/8 inch from the bottom. That's so that these stay registered. They don't fall apart on you and stay registered. This was done with 0.02 or 0.22 veneer, almost 1/4 inch thick veneer. I'm not used to working with that, so I sawed the blank completely in 2. Then you'll need some kind of a jig to hold this together. So just a simple jig to hold this together. And you can take the 2 pieces and line them up. Now, it's very important that you get straight lines on this, and each cut lines up. So I just made a 90-degree jig, and I'll clamp each piece up, put them together, clamp each piece up. And that way, it doesn't matter what size veneer you have. And so that's a simple jig. My go-to way to make them is on the bandsaw. This is my jig. Now, you would have the exact same jig for a table saw jig. You'd have 2 runners on a table saw. It's the exact same thing. So the method for making this is to size a piece of wood for the track in your saw so that it will move back and forth freely, and then place it in a table saw groove, and you can use a couple of washers, or I just use a couple of pennies. Put the pennies under the stick, raise it up enough that when I put some double-sided tape on this stick here that's in the groove, put a couple of pennies underneath it. That'll hold it up above the groove. Double-sided tape, take this piece up against your fence, put it down on the double-sided tape. Now you have it, and you add a couple, 3 screws on the side, whatever you want to do. So that's done. Your Celtic knot blank is going to go up onto a stop. And when I'm doing these, I make up, my table saw or my bandsaw is still free, because I leave my clamp on there for more than 1 cut. Don't move anything. I can take this away, and my bandsaw is still free for other work. I'll put this up against there. I will put another clamp just like this one down here, hold this, and run it through and stop 1/8 inch short. So there's my first cut. be generous with the glue, put in the veneer, then wait for this to dry. To hold it while it's drying. This is just a piece of 3/4 plywood because it's nice and stiff. And I put a piece of packaging tape on here on both sides. Glue will not stick to the packaging tape. When you put this down on there and glue drips out of it and all that stuff like that, gets all over this board, but it will not stick to the packaging tape. So I've got it set up there. I've got it clamped down. I'll put it on with the open side up, clamp one side, clamp the other side, and hold it flat. I wait about 2 hours. I've heard anywhere from 1 hour to 5 hours how long this should stay in the clamps. I wait about 2 hours, clean it all up, and then rotate it 90 degrees in second cut. Veneer, put it in, clamp the open end so that it closes up, and then that's how you make this. Continue, cut all 4 sides. Now, if you want to do 8 sides, obviously you'll need an octagon blank, and so this blank has been cut as an octagon. I've numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My intention is to put this color in this slot, and that is slot 1. I had 1 down to the table. My next cut, I'm going to do the opposite. It would be 5. I put 5 down the table. If you don't number these, I get confused easily. You'll get confused and you'll put the wrong one in the wrong place. So I'm going to put, this is yellow heart, and then I'm going to, opposite one, I'm going to put yellow heart. Then I'm going to go to number 2, put in another color, go to the opposite side, put in another color, and I want to get 4 different colors in there, and I'll have 4 different colors of rings, all interlocking and lapping, like Bill's, like Bill's pen that he was showing there. You get more than one color going. I'm more mechanical like. I'm not real artistic. I'm more mechanical. I get these. I'm going to cut those sides. This I intend to make a tool handle. This is ash, so I intend to make a tool handle out of it. Now,
You make your own yellow heart there?
well, you know, like 5 or 6 years ago, you couldn't find a yellow heart. It just wasn't available, and there was no reason. It just wasn't around. And now the lumber yards are starting to have yellow heart again.
Can you resaw those? That's what I'm saying. You cut your,
Right.
your
Mm-hmm. Now the veneers, you can buy a veneer pack if you want to make pins. Make pins like this thing. This is veneer from a pack. You can get veneer packs at Rockler, and I priced these at Rockler. You get a pack of several pieces of veneer. The veneer you're going to get in those packs is, you want to watch for the thickness of the veneer you're getting. A lot of it will be 0.044, which is small. But if you're cutting it with a 0.05 bandsaw blade, that's fine. You can't put a 1/2 inch rod into a 1/2 inch hole. You have to have some sort of clearance. So you have a 1/2 inch bandsaw blade, 0.044 veneer, that's good clearance. Put it in. The glue will fill the remainder of the gap. I'm going to leave these. You're welcome to come up and look at all these. You won't see any gaps in there, and that's what these were made out of. That would be typical for a pin blank or something. You can also buy 1/16 inch veneer packs, and the 1/16 will give you a little bolder line, not this bold or like the cup, but it'll give you a bolder line than this. Looks a little bit on the weak side. So 1/16 inch veneer is common. That'll give you a bolder line. Then you're pretty much down to making your own veneer. I make my own veneer. I have a wide belt drum sander, and I make my own veneer. And if you if you have a planer and that's all you got, you use what you got. If all you have is a planer, you make it with your planer and work with what you got. You can also cut these things not just using a bandsaw. The goblet was cut on the table saw. That was cut on the table saw. And that one was separated completely apart. I have the square jig to line them back up and put them back together. And that way I don't have to worry about what kind or what thickness of veneer I have. Any thickness will work because you completely separate it and put it back together. Now, how do you make an octagon and get a octagon block? If you have a table saw, your table saw will do a decent job of running it through both ways and made a decent job of making a square. And if you have the tools or have the ability to the tools, of course a jointer will make a real nice square. And you want to try to get as close to a square as you can and as close to even on the sides as you can. And that all depends on what tools you got, but you can get by probably with just a table saw. To make an octagon block, I drew a little picture over here. This is geometry. This is back to 8th grade geometry. You take your table saw and tilt your blade to 45 degrees. You take your block of wood, put it against the 45-degree blade. Bring your fence over till it just touches the corner that's sticking out here. And that is the correct distance now for cutting your 4 corners off, the wings off. And you will get an octagon, a true octagon. Tilt your blade to 45, lay the wood against your square, against the 45, bring the fence over till it just touches. Then you can take that fence is the correct distance then to cut off the corners. So you can make 8-sided very easily. So they're not really hard. Constructing the sled takes a little bit. You'll make a jig for your table saw the same as your bandsaw. You can cut the angles with the bandsaw, the table saw, a miter saw, and even a scroll saw with a number 7 scroll blade will cut a groove for the .044 veneer. When you buy the packs, like if you go into Rockler, they're hanging there. Well, one of them is very thin, and one of them is a 1/16 of an inch. You have to read the details of what you're getting. I can go into a little bit more about the jig. This is a table off a little 8-inch bandsaw that I have at home. And it's the same thing. Little runner on the bottom that goes into your groove, fit it into your groove. You'll find the groove on the table is approximately 3/4 of an inch, but the groove in the table is about 5 thousandths bigger than 3/4 of an inch, and your wood slider will end up being 3/4 of an inch. So that goes in the groove. You put double-sided tape on the runner and lay your board down on it, stick it down. And you have a sliding table. 45 degrees or 30 degrees are the two common angles. 45 degrees or 30 degrees, you need a fence there, and you're ready to go. You cut up there up to, leave an 1/8 inch gap. If you're cutting on the table saw, like this, you leave the table saw blade an 1/8 inch below, or just a little bit more because this is a bigger piece, at least an 1/8 of an inch, and make your cut, lower your blade down to where it won't cut all the way through your piece. That way you can, and if you leave the 1/8 inch on the side, it'll save you a lot of aggravation because your pieces are still registered together, and where they cross, if you don't get a nice pattern where the corners line up and the centers cross up, you'll have a Celtic knot where the one ring does not quite line up with the other ring. You can tell it's off a little bit, but you get them close and they come out real nice. So practice with them. Bill made his kind of crazy there. And he's got some pretty thick veneer there too. So I don't know what was his method. What was your method for making that?
Same thing, only different.
Bandsaw? You cut them on the bandsaw? You cut them on the bandsaw?
No, on table saw.
It's on the table saw. If you cut them on the table saw, if you got a thin kerf blade, you get about .010, and a regular kerf table saw blade will give you .125 to .128. Then you have to make your own veneer.
These are different angles than his, right?
Oh, yeah, that's completely different.
And that's the difference.
That's why they're longer. Yeah.
Bigger angle.
Right.
So Steve, on the oxygen that you have, they're numbered, so you do a glue up and then you let that set and you go to the.
Yeah, you have to do one cut at a time.
So
Let it set up.
you'll have 8 cuts and 8 pieces of veneer.
Correct.
Put in by rotating.
Correct. So you put in the first cut, and after the glue sets up, I wait at least 2 hours. I'm working right there in my house, in my garage, so I go back and do something else. When you get done, take this over to a bandsaw, if you have a bandsaw, and clip these all off, and make everything flush again. Sand it if it needs it. Usually you can work the bandsaw and get it flush. And the little bit of glue residue doesn't bother the bandsaw anyway. Get this all flushed up again, so you're starting with a clean blank, and then make the next cut. So you'll get confused. You remember, when you do it once, you won't forget. The other thing is, I know which end has got the numbers on it, and the end with the numbers on it goes against the stop. Guys, if you're anywhere near this, you put it on the wrong way. Yeah, it's, you can see them. But if you don't number it, you're going to get confused and either cut one twice or cut one wrong. So always a good idea to sort of mark the end that goes against the stop and number your cuts. So different opinions on different things. I've heard some say that you do one side, then do the opposite side, and then pick another one, do that side, do the opposite side. I just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one I'm going to make a tool handle out of, and I want one Celtic knot in one color, and then the opposite side I'm going to cut and put that same color in. Then I'm going to go to the next one, cut that one, put in a color and do the opposite side next and make that another color. So I'm going to have 4 colors in my tool blank. So 8-sided, I've just been experimenting with some of them, and I like it. And Anybody wants to look at this stuff, I'll lay it on the table over there. You can come up and look at it, ask questions about it or whatever. Pick these up. These were just made as a demo. Feel free to pick these up and look at them. These two pieces of wood started out exactly the same veneer. And I lay all this stuff out on the table over there. Sure. And when we get done with this, if I can answer any questions for anybody, I'd be glad to. So there you go. Tool handles, pins. You can make a candle holder, make Celtic knot Easter eggs. I've seen Jim's Celtic knot Easter egg is good or better than mine. And so I know Jim already knows how to make them. The Celtic knot Easter egg. And the Celtic knot pins. So get as fancy as you want. The simple Celtic knot pins like these are pretty easy. And have a
It's a six-sided one. Do they make six-sided ones, or they look different? Do they not work with six sides? Is that six?
this one. If you notice, the barrel's a little flatter on that one. And if you turn more down, the Celtic knot, the more you turn, the more it shrinks. It'll size right down. And the Celtic knot goes all the way through the wood. So the difference why this one is bigger, they were made off the same jig, is this one's fatter than that one. That one was turned down more, so the knot shrank and got smaller. And
And Steve, those are still made with a square,
these are 90 degrees and
square blanks, I mean.
yes, these start out as square blanks. You can't cut a round blank and do four sides on a round blank.
Dave was asking about six-sided.
Yeah, what about six-sided?
Okay, you'd have to do the math, and what you're going to end up doing, if you wanted to do a 3 or a 6, can I do that? Yes, but you would have to cut a 3 or a 6-sided piece of like plywood, screw it to the end, and use that as a registration point. You can do a 3-sided Celtic knot by putting a block of wood, screwing it onto the end there, and use that as your registration. You want to make 5? You can make 5. But not. I don't know of any good way to do that on a table saw without putting a piece on each end and to register it. And then,
In other words, you gotta make your hexagon set piece first, which is a little more challenging on a table saw.
yeah, the hexagon is easy because that's 8-sided. The hexagon jig is exactly the same as the bandsaw jig, except it's got 2 runners, and your slot's going to be a little different. But it's made the same way. And don't cut all the way through. Set your blade to stop. An 1/8 inch, a generous 1/8 inch short of the thing, so you don't lose your registration. Now, before you get to the Celtic knots, you're going to turn off that piece is going around there. It's got a considerable amount, probably 3/16 turned off of it before you get to the Celtic knot. What's it?
So Steve, now you've got your hex all complete, right? You've got all the pieces in there and you're ready to turn.
Right.
Okay. How critical is it to have your centers on each end?
Well, it's you want to do it the best you can, but it's not absolutely critical. It's still going to come out pretty good. It's going to come out pretty good. Maybe not perfect, but pretty good. So,
I tried that on a bowl.
yeah.
And you can tell which side I had.
Right.
It was just off maybe
Right. No, I don't have a good.
60 thousandths or something.
Yeah, I don't have a good method for finding the center for you. I find my centers, and I usually take a drill and drill a little bit in the end to get my centers to stay. And of course, you're putting it in a chuck. You usually don't have the chuck will center it up pretty good. It's your tail piece that's going to be hard to center up. That's my way. I'm a mechanic. I'm not an artist. I'm a mechanic. I do it the mechanical way.
Get your center by going across corners before you cut the octagon. When I get your center points?
Establish the center.
Yeah, you can establish the center of the square. Yeah, well, it's still square before you make the octagon and cut the corners off. Yeah, that's a better time to find the center than after you do that. And if you do that method there with it leaning against the saw blade and pull the fence over, you will get a true octagon with equal sides.
So do the center before you start with the.
Yeah, I do the center of the, I don't have a problem doing the center afterward on something like this. I'll fuss with it till I get it right. If I have to, I'll lay it down on a surface and get a flat board and lay it, and I'll get the center before it's. Yeah. Yes, before you make well, it's still square, would be a good time to mark your center, yeah. What else can I tell you? If you need to know anything more about making the jig, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. This is the one that I use on my table saw. I have my stop clamp there. I'll bring my other piece up there. Depending on how long it is, if it's a pin blank, I'll put a clamp on it because I don't want but if it's a longer piece, I'll hold it. Yeah, you don't have to clamp it. It'll run through, cut pretty smooth. But then I'll leave this clamp on here until I cut all 4 or all 8, whatever I'm making the sides. I'm not going to move this and use it for anything else until I've completed that one piece. If you cut all the way through, make you up a nice squaring jig like this. If you cut all the way through, make yourself a nice squaring jig. And then it will look awful if you don't make sure to keep all the sides lined up and parallel. So I'll put a clamp on here, I'll put a clamp on here, and a lot of times if I don't like the way it looks, I'll put a clamp end to end. But remember, if you squeeze it, you're going to, it's 2 wedges there. So if you got this clamped and this clamped moderately, then you can put a clamp on there and it won't move on you. But pay real close attention to the edges, that everything lines up so it'll look good in the end. And this is exactly how I made the goblet. That's how I made the goblet. These came out pretty good. And the X in the center lines up. The lines in the center line up. The X's line up. They're the same height. So this came out real good. And that's how I did that with the 2 pieces. Cut it right in half. And I actually cut this in half on a miter saw. So little experimenting, you got something. Experiment. Once you get the jig made up, you get you some veneer. How much the pack of veneer going to cost you? At Rockler, about $9, something like that. The small pack, and that'll get you domestic veneers like maple, walnut, maybe cherry. I don't know what all they got in there, but they'll give you 3 or 4 different colors. The smallest pack is about $9. They get bigger and bigger after that. The 8-sided one, if you make up you end up having to make your own veneer on a sander, make several. So these are all made up for my thin kerf bandsaw blade. So I've got all, if you're making it, make several. What else can I tell you? To get your 45, I'm sure you all got, I didn't even show you one thing. This is a piece, I made some Celtic knots for Rhonda Inman. Put me back on this one, please, overhead. I made some Celtic knots for Rhonda Inman. Rhonda Inman made this and gave it back to me as a favor. She made a really nice finial with one of the Celtic knots that I gave her and put it on a sea urchin. And my wife really likes that, so this has been sitting on my table in my foyer ever since I got it. My wife really liked that, so that's a keeper. And this sits on the foyer table in my house. Yeah, wasn't my idea. I bring stuff home. I don't know how you guys do. I bring stuff home, and my wife says, "That's nice, but it's out to the garage." Yeah, says, and don't bring home any more bowls. We don't. I have a bowl pile, and I bring. And she goes, "It's nice, but put it on the bowl pile." Okay. So when her friends come over, or the relatives or grandkids or whatever come over, if you like the bowls in that pile, take a couple of them, and that's the bowl pile. Then every once in a while I bring something home. I told her, I says, "This is part of my demonstration. It's just a piece of poplar, and don't be sticking your fingers down inside there. I hollowed it out. There's a center in the bottom, and it's not finished very well on the bottom. So I didn't spend a lot of time on that. The point was to show the Celtic knot itself. And so I said, "This is part of my demonstration." She goes, "I like that." Says, "I'll keep that." I go, "Well, if I'd have known that, I'd done a little more sanding and a little more cleaning and stuff on it." But she liked that. I don't understand. And this of course was a gift from Rhonda. She loves this. It went right to the 50 years. And that 50 years in December, and I lasted that long because I don't argue with her. That's how I lasted that long. So I am done unless anybody has any questions. I'm going to put all this stuff over on the table. All this stuff will be over here if anybody wants to come up and look at it afterwards.
There's no shavings, Steve.
No shavings, no cleanup.